Alexander stuffed his hands into his pockets and pulled his jacket tighter, the crisp, icy air catching his throat. Having just turned 19, he left his party early to spend time and escape the noisy celebration. But a look of confusion crossed his face as he turned to look back. The familiar sidewalk and streetlights that usually indicated his route were gone, as were his tracks. Impossible, he thought. Alexander knew what should be there and what wasn't because he had taken this path countless times. Taking a deep breath to steady himself, he looked up at the sky. His face going pale as snow fell silently, revealing a disconcerting scene. He couldn't comprehend the strange sight of two moons hanging in the sky. Anxiety swept through him. Had he collapsed? Was this a dream? He ran back, disregarding logic, as every second stretched painfully and minutes stretched into an unending void of doubt. Breathless and disoriented, he collapsed to his knees and realized that the forest beside him was silent and devoid of civilization. Abruptly, a deep roar broke the silence, its raw power coursing through him. He was overcome with panic and wanted to run, but there was nowhere to run. His gaze settled on a large white wolf that was visibly frightening despite its flawless camouflage in the snow. As the thing circled, identifying him as prey, fear took hold of him. Alexander trembled, waiting for the impending attack, but it never came. Rather, he saw the wolf slain, its wounds caused by an arrow that emerged from the darkness. Alexander was sick to his stomach and found it difficult to process what had happened. Who was responsible for the creature's death? Friend or foe? Crunch, crunch, crunch. Footsteps. Alexander turned towards the footsteps, and as he did, a small group of people emerged from the tree line, bows with nocked arrows aimed right at him. Alexander put his hands up in defense as one of the men approached him. He was a large and stocky man, and his stride faltered with a pronounced limp. At the same time, his skin was a light beige that contrasted so much against the snow that it was almost lost.
Who are you, human? Why did you cross the border?
The man's voice was deep and baritone as he spoke with authority and purpose. This man was a leader, likely a very respected leader. Alexander knew he needed to be wary now. One misstep, and he would probably be dead at this man's hand or his signal. However, Alexander was confused by his words. What did this man mean? Were they not human? What did they mean by the border? When Alexander didn't answer immediately, the man frowned and stepped closer, clearly growing impatient with him. He looked him up and down, examining his clothes and appearance. He then turned and made a signal, and the bows lowered before he asked Alexander something else.
You aren't from this world, are you?
Alexander blinked, startled.
This isn't. I don't understand.
The man sighed before motioning to one of the other men.
Owen, you're in charge of him. He's coming back with us.
Owen, the younger man, or maybe the boy, tried to protest, but was stopped before everyone began to disband back into the tree line.
I'm not going anywhere, not until I get some answers.
Then the older man cut him off.
You can either come willingly or by force. The choice is yours.
Alexander swallowed a lump that had formed in his throat. He couldn't afford to die here, at least not before even knowing what had, or rather was, happening to him. Alexander finally nodded.
Fine, I'll follow you.
Owen then approached him. He was sticking close so Alexander wouldn't get any ideas about running from them. Not that he would. Alexander didn't even know where he was, so why would he run? If he did that, he was far more likely to die, as he nearly had earlier had these men not shown up when they did. As they walked, Alexander got a better look at his new companion. Owen had long, pale blonde hair that barely stood out against the white of the snow. It was kept neatly pulled back into a ponytail. The man was attractive, even his tawny-colored ashen skin, which went well with his oddly colored violet eyes. He was well built, but still retained a slim stature and walked with an almost elegant stride, as if he came from money. Even in this dense forest, the group walked as if they already knew where they were going. They did not hesitate or feel lost at all. Unlike Alexander, if he had been here alone, he was sure he would have already gotten himself turned around. The trees were tall and barren of any green due to the snow. He could only imagine how it must look in the summer when the branches were full.
We hope you enjoyed today's reading of Vaticinium, a fantasy tale of love and magic. If you love this story, be sure to subscribe, rate, and share the podcast with fellow story lovers.